Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So in today's video we're going to talk about Virgo and specifically the qualities associated with Virgo and how we can take a look at those and find where a healthy balance might be. And so just please know that this message is from the spirit of wanting to really windy here. I've had my little room divider here. It's blown over on me a couple of times. I'm trying to keep it from happening again. So the wind had died down for a while, and I thought, okay, this is good. I can film, and I don't have to worry about it. And as soon as I think that's life, right? But as far as looking at the qualities of all these different constellation or zodiac signs, I think that ultimately God designed each one of us to be our own unique self. And we're going to talk about that too in this video. So it's not just going to be all about Virgo. It's going to be a much more expanded message, just because as I was researching it came to me and it just feels like I need to share it. And so hopefully it'll be helpful for everyone, right? And like I was starting to say before this almost blew over again, this is intended to get the wheels turning and just to be a source of inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And just to get you thinking, right? Ultimately, we don't want to approach life from a place of striving, but more of a place of acceptance, I think, while still having the desire to learn and grow. And so that's how I look at things anyway, especially after everything I've been through and coming from this place in my life now. So I hope you enjoy the message. So these art cards are just beautiful, and this one in particular I had to share it, and it comes with these little markings, the star markings, and then you just take something and poke through. It's already kind of not punctured all the way, but it's kind of like easy to puncture through. It's got like little marks that are there and ready for you to just puncture through, and you can see where to do that. And so then if you can kind of see at this angle, if you hold it up to the light, you can see the constellation, the layout of it. And it's especially effective if you're in a dark room inside and you hold it up against a lamp or a light of some kind, and you can get familiar with each constellation because of the cards that way, which I think is so cool. And then when you're out, if you are a stargazer, then you can hopefully more quickly recognize the different constellations. So anyway, but the art is just beautiful on these, and these are from a set of cards and a book that comes with it called Urania's Mirror. So I will put the link to that in the description for you all. It's available on Amazon, I believe. I think that's where I got mine. I can't really remember, but I'll find it for you if I can and drop a link in the description. So, but okay, let's go ahead and dive in. And also, this is part of my diving in, okay? This is really important to me. Y'all, I have never had a hammock before. And so I had the idea to get one, and I bought one. This is not the first one I bought. The first one you can probably see in one of my recent videos. It's more of like I think it's called like macrame, more of a woven kind, really pretty, but it was too big essentially for this stand, and also very stretchy. It just gives way too much. I'm gonna try it in the backyard between some trees and see how it does before I just get rid of it, donate it, or whatever. But this one right here seems simple when you look at it. And again, I truly was excited to look, to try this out, to try out a hammock. Y'all, today after I got it set up, I said I'm just gonna try it and see. And I had bought lunch and everything, brought it home, and I thought I'm gonna sit here in my hammock and try it out for 10-15 minutes. I wound up laying in this thing for I don't even know. I totally lost track of time. I didn't have my phone with me. I had no distractions. I was literally just completely absorbed in the absolute comfort and serenity of my own personal cocoon. I kid you not. It's so stretchy, and so you have to be careful if you're not familiar with it. because apparently you can flip out of it and hit the ground. But I have mine intentionally set where you're pretty low to the ground already anyway, and you can kind of lay with one leg out. That's how I started. So I could put my foot on the ground and kind of just rock myself, and it was just super relaxing. And then I got brave enough to put both legs in and I just wrapped myself up in the cocoon, and it was just incredible. So I'll put the link to that as well in the description, and then you can find a stand or hang it. There's a lot of different places you can hang them if you have the space to do so. And I just hope that you're able to enjoy a hammock at some point in your life, because when we're talking about peace on this channel, I think that's a really wonderful, just, how do you want to describe this? It's just a really wonderful thing that you can have, right? Thing that you can enjoy. I'm drawing a blank. So I do better with my notes than just thinking on the spot, obviously. All right, so, and I forgot I have not ordered my new microphone yet, so hopefully this is not going to be too scratchy today. Some days it does absolutely fine, and other days it's just awful. But I hope that it's okay today for you all, and I need to get one in the mail. Okay, so the Balanced Virgo. The element associated with this sign is Earth. The gender is feminine. The ruling planet, they call it, is Mercury. The quality is mutable, and it's described as a sign that of someone who's very much an introvert, right? So we're going to look at these qualities that are at the core just neutral. And it's going to depend on our state of mind, and heart, which is heavily influenced by all the things we've been through and the things we've been taught and our conditioning and our unconscious biases and everything, right? But our current state of being, you might say, is going to influence this neutral quality to be either on this side of the spectrum or this side of the spectrum. And we're going to take a look at some examples. So one of the qualities associated with this sign is the tendency to want to be meticulous, to seek perfection. And, you know, initially, I know this is my stance. My stance is that there is no such thing as perfection with regards to the common way I think we perceive that. But as far as a spectrum, I think that it's essentially at the core a neutral quality, and here's why. Perfection, or the desire for perfection, perfectionism, can look, or can be, not just look, but can actually be a good thing when it's harnessed, when it's understood, harnessed, appreciated, and used from a place of abundance, a place where you're not in a state of lack or dysregulation or anything like that, where you're stable, you're not stressed. And so the way we can harness this quality of having a tendency to like perfection through my lens is to put it to work in all kind of different, just a myriad, just endless possibilities, you know, just so many different ways we can put this to work and use it to help us, specifically in having an eye for detail. Having an eye for detail. I think that some of us are just hardwired to be able to see the big picture easier, and maybe we don't see all those details. And that's why it's great when we can come together and work together. And then others are wired differently. Others are a little different, and they're the ones who maybe can't see the whole picture, but they really can pick up on these details. And sometimes it's one or two details that can change an outcome, that can explain something to somebody that maybe needed that one little bit of information or a breadcrumb. You see what I'm saying? Piece of the puzzle. So it's having an eye for detail is very useful, can be very useful, depending on where you are, your state of being, you know. You can, you know, use this to find solutions. And this is something I want to talk about too. So I have these books that I'm I referenced for this message, and I believe it's this one that I had pulled this little quote from on page 68. I'm going to share this with you all, and this is in the section talking about Virgo. But it says that Virgo is hardwired for service, and it says Virgos would be wise to avoid a reflex of criticism and problem solving. Sometimes all one needs the Virgo to do is listen, not put out the fire. And so I got to thinking about the difference in problem solving, quote unquote, versus finding solutions. It's just a shift. You're essentially doing the same thing, but if you're problem solving, that's coming at something that needs a solution from the position of seeing the problem, which can make you feel stressed out or overwhelmed or pressured or whatever it is, under pressure, and that can just frazzle you or whatnot. But if you come at something, instead of seeing it as a problem, quote unquote, but just something that needs a solution or needs help or guidance or support or working out or whatever it is, something that just needs a solution, that's just a little shift, right, that we can make within our mind and heart, so that we're looking at the same thing from a positive angle and not a negative, stressful angle. You see what I'm saying? So this is the part that we can work at, as far as I'm concerned, to have a conscious, or to make a conscious choice in how we approach things. And this can make all the difference in the world. Per my experience, this is what I've been working on personally, and again, I'm just sharing my path with you all and hoping that it's helpful to you in some way. So, but as far as perfectionism goes, that's kind of like having an eye for detail. That can be good to problem solve or to help find solutions, So then over here, on the other side of things, perfectionism can wind up manifesting in a negative way by making us feel like, because we can see so much, because one may have the tendency to see detail, you're probably going to, without wanting to, see all kind of things that are wrong, that are incomplete, that need work, that you're just going to find the faults naturally. You're going to have this tendency to find faults naturally. So this is sort of like I see this as maybe a personal challenge just for Virgos, almost like you might look at it like a curse, that they may have this eye for detail and therefore see flaws and fault, not just out here in other people and situations and stuff and things, but even within themselves. And they may have a tendency to not only be critical and find fault in everything out here, but also within. So that's not good either, right? And then that can produce things like anxiety and possibly wind up, even unconsciously, driving a person towards some type of coping mechanism like OCD tendencies or something. You see what I'm saying? I'm thinking about people in my life that have suffered from OCD and how they have just felt almost destabilized, I think, or what's the word I'm looking for? I never have these words when I'm on the spot. Dysregulated, when things are just out of place a little bit. And I think it's just sort of like this coping approach that some people think, if I can just control this particular situation, then I can feel like I have a sense of control in my life, because maybe there are other things that, even in their past or present, that they have just been super stressed out over because they experienced such a loss of control. You see what I'm saying? So just something to think about. Again, I'm just giving you some things to turn those wheels, right? All right. And then we have the quality of being grounded, because this is an earth sign. Being grounded can be, I see it as a very neutral quality. On the good side, someone who's grounded, I think, is more easily able to enjoy being in the present, because their mind is not off, in the future or in the past as much as maybe someone else with different qualities and characteristics. And because they're able to stay in the present more, they're able to maybe remember more, make memories with their loved ones and retain them for longer, possibly. That's a good thing, being grounded in that manner. Also, they may be able to complete tasks and accomplish a lot in life just because they're able to remain present, in the moment, and stay grounded. And then if you look on the other end of the spectrum, a Virgo, who is, again, has that earth quality element, may be so grounded, so present, that it may be intensified during certain seasons of their life, depending on what they're going through. And this can make them feel things in the present, if it is a painful present, very, very, very deeply. Whereas another person who maybe another person's mind is in the present a little bit, in the past a little bit, and in the future a little bit, maybe they're able to kind of give themselves a reprieve from a very stressful present time. But maybe a Virgo is so grounded that they may struggle to see anything good in the future, or to remember anything good in the past, because the present is so overwhelming, because they're so grounded. Does that make sense? Just some thoughts. They can be absorbed, in other words, by the negative circumstances in the present. Another quality, and this is the last one I'm going to share, then we're going to talk about, some generalizations. But another quality is that this sign is associated with the ruling planet of Mercury, which is known in mythology as being a character that is a messenger. So there's this quality of communication, both receiving messages and sharing messages. And so that's how these characters, these roles play out in all these fairy tales and legends and lore and everything, right? The messenger characters usually have someone they report to, and then they go and share the message, and then they're kind of like the go-between, And I read in one of my books, I don't remember which one it was, on the zodiac, about this position of being in the middle, being related to Virgo. So that makes sense when you think about the character of a messenger. So being a messenger, again, we might look at as just a very neutral role or quality. When looking at things from a good place, a stable and balanced and healthy place, this quality of being a messenger can, I feel like, manifest as having a love for messages, a love for learning, you might say, right? Acquiring information and knowledge and wisdom, and also a love for sharing everything that one has learned. So that can be a wonderful thing in one's life. But if circumstances are negative and one doesn't have the skill set to take a hold and do some deep breathing and whatever needs to happen to get stabilized, right? And to get back into a place of balance, if one can unfortunately experience the side of the negative aspect of the messenger qualities, it may manifest, instead of a love for learning and sharing, it may manifest as a drive for possibly like overworking. You see what I'm saying? And that's not just in acquiring information and sharing information. That can manifest in a lot of different ways for many of us, beyond this particular zodiac sign. So, and maybe even as far as communication, it may, when out of balance, present as the need to over-explain, overdo it. Just the feeling of, I'm going to feel dysregulated if I don't over-explain, or if I don't figure this out right now. I'm just thinking. So here's what came to my mind as far as which way one goes, right? I thought of a cornerstone when you're thinking about buildings, right? And so think about this, because the cornerstone is essential to the integrity of the building. Okay, if we're talking about a literal physical building, it's essential. And so the same thing applies here symbolically, that we need a cornerstone to act as, or to serve as, providing us a consistent space of balance, so that we can experience harmony in everything, right? So I'm probably just mumbling at this point. My mind's going 100 miles an hour. Let me share this with you. So I looked up cornerstone. So from Wikipedia, it says a cornerstone, or foundation stone, or setting stone, is the first stone set in the construction of a masonry foundation. All other stones will be set in reference to this stone. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Okay, it's kind of like having this foundation that keeps you balanced, no matter what quality you're looking at. It says, thus, okay, so all other stones will be set in reference to this stone, thus determining the position of the entire structure. And I love that, talking about position. Now, and then I talk about structure a lot, as far as, our mental framework we have to work with. So the etymology of the word position, because it's talking about thus determining the position of the entire structure, which is crucial again. Etymology of position from the Online Etymology Dictionary from the late 14th century is from position, as a term in logic and philosophy, a statement of belief, the laying down of a proposition or thesis. It has Proto-Indo-European roots. Getting ahead of myself. But what really caught my attention was the Proto-Italic, which is Posine, P-O-S-I-N-E, from the Proto-Indo-European T-K-I-N-E, which means to build, very appropriate here, to build and live. So here we have this connection between a structure that is built and what it means to build one's own life from a place of integrity, because you have this solid cornerstone that you're always rooted and grounded in, so that you can make sure that you are swayed to the positive side of things, the positive side of your characteristics and qualities that may be a part of your makeup, your divine design. You see what I'm saying? This part is our choice, especially when we become conscious of it. So, and then also position, the term position, looking at the roots of it, it means again from the Proto-Indo-European T-K-I-N-E, to build or live. It also has the root T-K-E-I, meaning to settle, dwell, or be home. And I was thinking, well, when you're at home and you're settled and you're in your dwelling, it's a place of peace. That's a good thing. But also, a lot of old movies and books and everything used to contain a phrase that would say, okay, it's settled then, it's settled. You don't hear people say that so much nowadays, but I thought that makes total sense, because the position has been proclaimed, see. So maybe we need to take that authority in our own lives to remember to be conscious of taking a position before we even dive into anything and get tossed by the waves, by the storm, by the winds, the tempest, whatever's going on. If we just take a moment, maybe in the mornings, to remind ourselves that we're going to take authority and proclaim that cornerstone in our life, so that we can approach everything from a position of, this is doable. There is a solution instead of there's a problem. There is a solution. It's just something that needs a solution. Simple. So, I was after looking up cornerstone and thinking, down that path, I went back to the qualities of a Virgo, and I was reviewing those. And I was thinking, if the core of these qualities is neutral, then, and it really comes down to our position. What are the two positions we can take if you had to label? Which y'all know I hate labels. Because if you happen to not be able to think in the moment of the right label, it might literally be logged in your mind as the wrong approach, the wrong way to look at something, and that can affect, I feel like, how effective this practice is. So I really don't like labels. But I was reminded of this movie called Donnie Darko, and it's a really different movie. I like it, and I can't remember when it came out, maybe the 90s or something like that. But in the movie, there was a teacher that was teaching Donnie. He's in high school, and he got really frustrated with her. She was drawing on the board this spectrum, and she was trying to explain that everything falls into one of two categories, either love or fear. And he's like, he gets almost into an argumentative debate with his teacher, and he's like, it's not that simple. And so what happens in the movie is we witness his life play out, and we think this is his life playing out. Normally, it's really an alternative version of his life playing out, as if he had been in control himself. And what happens is he is shown that it's a disaster. And then at the very end, we're shown, it's kind of like it goes back in time at the very end, and all that we saw throughout the movie that we thought was his life was just kind of like a vision of what would have happened if he had kept going down the path of thinking he knew it all and he was in control and all this stuff. And again, it was just all this bad stuff happened and disaster. So over here at the very end, we're shown, a point much earlier in the movie, and we're shown the truth of what happened in his life. And I don't want to give it away in case you want to watch this, but essentially what happened was something that he was trying to avoid. And you'll understand why. It would be very scary for anybody to experience. But he was trying to avoid this. But yet, because he either had this vision of the alternative, or he got to experience in some parallel reality the alternative, at the end of the movie, when we're shown what really happened, we see that he's at peace with it. So it was really, really, I thought, a very well done movie. It's also cool too, because the writers took the creative liberty to create these really cool effects, special effects, and so you get to see this at one point in the movie, this fluid-like, almost spirit type essence come out of the characters. It's almost like a plasma, and it's coming out from their core, their stomach area, their what do you call it, like your solar plexus area, and it comes out, and we're watching it like through Donnie's eyes, like he's watching all this, like he has the ability, to see this, and nobody else can see it. So he's watching, and it's like this is coming out, from the characters, and then they're following it, but they don't see it. So it kind of gives you this idea that maybe we have a predestined path, each one of us. Just something to think about, So yeah, and it's almost like we're assigned to a predestined path, right? That ultimately, if we can make peace with, and that comes through faith, the faith walk, again, which is exemplified perfectly in this movie, but if we can make peace with it and live in alignment with it, then it's just a peaceful life. The result is that, right? Versus being out of alignment with our calling or our purpose or our predestined path, then that's when we experience, struggle and strife and just all this stuff, right? So going back to Virgo, so it has Greek associations with the goddess of the harvest, Demeter, and so that's why she's shown wherever my card went, right here. It's the virgin, right? The virgin character, and she's carrying wheat. And so, again, related to the goddess of the harvest. And so when you look up Demeter, in my Latin English dictionary here, it says to mow, reap, harvest, pick, or cut off. And it gave an example of flowers and fruit, right? And so, and I think each of these signs is really relatable to all of us. Let me just say this. So, my conclusion on Virgo, let me share this, is, it's an earth sign. It's related to Demeter, which is the harvest. Qualities are an eye for detail, being meticulous, having a tendency toward perfectionism, and just a affinity, I guess, for perfection itself. Caring about health and well-being. That was something that feels kind of one-off, but it was noted in several different resources that I checked, which was really interesting. I actually have this tendency to myself, to a degree, and this is not my sign, so I found that interesting. But caring about health and well-being, and again, the messenger because of Mercury. So I feel like, to embrace these qualities, it may look like something like this, right? Developing communication skills and finding avenues for communicating helpful details that others may overlook. And when you're able to do that, it's going to bring well-being to others. That's the message, the gift that a Virgo can bring to the world, So just something to think about. Also, it's related to the feminine gender. So there's a feminine energy associated with this sign. And I would say specifically because it's an earth sign, it kind of has Mother Earth vibes to it, and or Mother Earth's energy. And so to me, I see this manifesting as just caring for people, desiring their well-being, a genuine desire for people to just be content, right, and to have what they need. And so, in other words, this idea of perfection is not just a selfish one. It's kind of like wanting everything to be okay and good for everyone. You know what I mean? So it can be a really good energy, and if harnessed appropriately, I think it can be used to bring good things to others, right? In the form of, it's kind of, again, like a motherly quality, but it's a different kind of nourishment, like a spiritual nourishment, energetic nourishment, informative, and, via the messenger character. So I also like to, this sign being a virgin, a maiden, really, it's associated with a youthful essence. The maiden is really one of the, if not the central character in almost all of these fairy tales and that I've studied. The maiden is right at the heart of these stories. So that's important and good, But I think that the fact that it's not just a woman, it's a virgin, it's a maiden, there's a tie-in to a youthful essence. And that might manifest in a healthy way as a place of being humble. Maybe an unhealthy way as a place of not feeling, I don't want to say competent, or maybe prepared, or all the qualities you may associate with an adult in comparison to a child, maybe, when confronted with everything in the world. You see what I'm saying? So that might be the healthy, unhealthy spectrum there. But I think that this desire to want to learn, which is consistent in all the books I've read about this, is a sort of a childlike essence, just that sense of wonder and I'm reminded of that who is it, Leanne Womack song, I hope you dance, and she says, I hope you never lose your sense of wonder, you know. And so that's a good quality to have. But I think that when in balance, a Virgo from this position through the archetypal spirit of the maiden, having this humble spirit and this childlike desire to want to learn and share. Think about how excited kids are to share new discoveries they found. You know, they'll come running to you with a rock or a leaf because, you know, oh my God, Mom, look at this. You know, my daughter brings me heart-shaped leaves, which I love. So they have this excitement, you know, and I think that makes people who are born into this zodiac sign relatable and likable, and therefore what they have to offer and share with others maybe a little bit more, I think the word is palatable, than if it's coming from someone who maybe doesn't have that same spirit of humility, right? So, yeah. And I say that what's offered by someone when they're in balance in this sign is more palatable to others, and I just told you why. But I think also it's because when you're thinking about others, when others are on the receiving end of what you have to share, being a messenger in whatever way, a lot of people are very wounded. They're very biased, and they don't even know they're biased, and they're conditioned, and they're, you know, they have all this stuff weighing them down and clouding their perception. And but who can turn away a child? Who can turn away a sweet animal? You know, someone, a spirit, just that kind of spirit, that youthful, innocent type spirit. And so I think that ultimately this can be a very relatable and helpful set of characteristics within this zodiac when balanced. So I hope this has been encouraging. If this resonates with you, or if this is your sign, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was inspiring, and most of all, I hope it got the wheels turning no matter what your zodiac sign is. And again, this is just simply an approach, or just a method, a tool, something we can use to self-evaluate, not for criticism, not to, you know, place ourselves into a place of striving, but to just maintain a place of peace with a very gentle desire to learn and grow, right? And that's it. So thanks so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon. And don't forget to check out those links on the hammock. Okay, I'll see you soon.